Hi guys, welcome to the forum. Today we are going to talk about something very interesting and something which is talk of the town in the graduates community currently. We're going to talk about how to crack jobs in a VC. We have been receiving a lot of messages from our friends and peers and professionals who are wanting to shift to venture capital and they don't know the path of how to reach venture capitals and probably what happens on the inside in a venture capital. So today we are going to address a lot of questions that come up in that manner. So I'd like to introduce Vikram Bansal, who is a dear friend and a colleague at Equanimity with me. So he's a CA and a CFA. He's worked at a startup called Flexi Loans and for quite a bit, I think 3 years about around that, and also worked at PwC during his traineeship period. So, Vikram, please tell me more about your journey, what happens at a startup, and how did you really shift to VCs, and what's your take on it?
Yeah, so thank you for the lovely introduction. I started my career as an audit trainee in PwC, where I learned the art of asking questions, which is like a must in our VC community, right? And then post qualification, wanted like every other aspirant and qualified chartered accountant, wanted to create an impact, wanted to make a difference. So thought of moving to a startup and moved to the business finance role where I'd been driving profitability. We were a 4 member team initially when I started, and we grew to a 14 member team.
Wow.
So that's what I would call it as an impact. Over there, I understood what are the different metrics to look at, and that's where my keenness or inclination towards understanding businesses really grew. And that's where I started looking for opportunities in the VC space, and here I am in the investments and the treasury team of Equanimity.
Interesting.
So, a lot about me now. Manan is a corporate lawyer and holds a bachelor's degree in business administration. He has previously worked with an angel network and at a law firm where he gained experience over multiple facets of the business, such as business analytics, deal closures, negotiations, and working on definitive agreements. So, Manan, would love to hear more about your journey and what has brought you over here.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for introducing me like that. But my journey has been a little dramatic. I was really inclined towards the startup space since I was in college. We used to have a lot of pitching sessions in college back then. I was really fascinated by the different ideas that students and real startups also used to come down to college to pitch these ideas. Then I started attending the same pitch days offline with one of these angel networks in Mumbai and slowly started, d- increasing a lot of interest towards the startup ecosystem and attended a lot of pitch days. Then started to do my law. During my law, I worked at Inflection Point Ventures. It's an angel network where 6 months I did my internship in the business analysis space, and the other 6 months I used to do a lot of legal stuff there. So that's where I picked up both the facets of the VC ecosystem. Right after that, I moved to a law firm which is called A&B Legal. There I used to work in the PVC team only, looking at definitive agreements, especially for the PVC ecosystem. So yeah, that's where I picked up a lot of legal stuff as well. So that has been my journey till now. Yeah, so that's how it has spanned out. So we've spoken a lot about each other, and now I'd like to ask you a question. We have actually a set of questions for the audience here. Some of the questions that we generally get over LinkedIn or other social platform that we are on.
Yeah.
So one of the questions being, what are the prerequisites of the job, Vikram? What do you think?
So thought about this a lot, and what I feel is one should be really self-motivated to work in the industry, right? Because it involves a lot of keenness from one side of businesses and the various business models that are out there. You need to do a lot of cold reach outs to these founders, incubators, accelerators. So yeah, self-motivation would be the topmost quality one should possess. And secondly, one should always stay updated and always be on their toes. You need to be aware of the macroeconomic trends that are being going on, such as the interest rate hikes in India and abroad, and what sort of an impact do they have on our ecosystem, and also the different kinds of sectors the buzzword AI, need to understand or need to understand the basics of all these things. And obviously, a prior work experience helps in industries like investment banking, private equity, or consulting, or a startup background like me, because this helps you basically gain an edge over understanding business models and helps you understanding business models way better than most of the other peers do. So, Manan, on that note, would like to ask you, suppose an individual understands how did the interview process look like for you, and what do these funds look for in a VC analyst?
So actually, if you ask me that question, a lot of VCs, right, they don't have a playbook that they follow.
Yeah.
It's a very dynamic interview process. It's really hands-on. They try to test that do you have the knack of understanding businesses when it comes to the real world. So with me, what happened is they asked me a couple of, now that I have a legal background, they asked me a lot of legal questions. They asked me a couple of basic questions on AIFs. They asked me a couple of questions on how does probably a VC look at a business? What kind of a lens do they wear? And how does an angel network look at a business? And what kind of a lens do they wear? So that's the difference that they asked me. They also asked me a lot of questions on how does one look at a D2C business vis-a-vis how does one look at a B2B SaaS business. So that's something which was very intriguing. So yeah, these are the kind of questions that they ask you. They, in the end, they also gave me an assignment. They gave me one of the companies that they were looking at, analyzing that kind of a company, and they asked me to analyze that as well for them. So that's the kind of stuff that they rely on.
Did they ask you where do you see yourself after 5 years down the line?
Yeah, so they didn't ask me about that, but they did ask me what do you think about the VC world and why do you want to be in the VC world. So that's the difference. In a general MNC, one would ask this kind of a question that you just recently asked. So yeah, that's how it is. So now that we spoke about the questions to be asked, right? How does it's very important to stay relevant in the game, right? Getting a VC job is one part, but staying relevant is another part. It's a completely VUCA world. It's really dynamic. The ecosystem itself is so dynamic. So what are your takes on how to stay relevant in the game?
So Manan, like you rightly mentioned, getting a job in a VC is one thing, and growing in that job is another thing itself. So how does one do that? One does by start doing networking. So you need to do a lot of networking with these individuals, with founders, with your VC peer friends, incubators, accelerators. So basically, the industry is not just about what you know, but also who you know, right? So that is where it is, and we have a thing in our office, right? Where who is the quickest to distribute the business card would be the quickest to promotions as well. So that's the kind of importance networking holds in a VC ecosystem. And that along with networking, you always need to stay curious and stay updated. So how can you do that? One can do that by listening to a lot of these podcasts. Few of them which I hear to are the Matrix Moments and Sparks by Mukesh Bansal, and also the WTF series by Vikram Bansal. Really amazing. And then one can read the financial newspapers, and there are a lot of LinkedIn content which is out there and a lot of blogs which are out there, right? So I feel these are the three important things one can do to stay relevant in the game.
Makes sense. Makes sense.
So so now getting to the part like how our team structured in the VC industry, right? A friend of mine from HDFC investment banking team called me up and asked, how are VC teams structured? And I feel a lot of these people who are there on the platform would love to know how our team structured at
Before I dive deep into your question, I'd like to explain in a nutshell of what happens when we get a company in our inbox, the pitch deck in our inbox, to how we take it to money in the bank, right? So there are a couple of facets that we run a company by. First one being we look at the pitch deck, we build an analysis towards that. We talk to the founders, create a report, which is kind of a brief report, take that across to the team. Then also talk about it to the managing partner. Right after that, we get their buy-ins, then create a a very holistic and a very verbose report, which is a huge Excel sheet with probably 20 tabs. So that's quite interesting. After doing that, we take that to the IC. And once the IC says that, okay, yes, let's go ahead with the investments, is when the complete diligence part starts and the whole legal part starts, where you have to close the definitive agreements and stuff like that. So that's the way generally a company flows. So in this manner, now that I've broken down the whole process, we have different departments in this. First one being deal getting the deals, that is inbound deals. Then we have deal evaluation. Then we have, so first one is deal sourcing, then is deal evaluation, then we have post closing. So generally at a lot of VC firms, I've seen people working in a lot of people working in each of these departments. But at Equanimity, what we do is one person completely handholds the deal and takes it through all the facets. That's how one also learns. That's how the startup also has a single POC to talk to, and it's a complete holistic process. So that's how it is. And also the teams here in a VC ecosystem are smaller, because you talk about 700 CR to 1000 CR of AUM. You do generally about 12, 15 deals a year. So you need less resources, really dynamic people, really resourceful people. So that's why the teams are kind of smaller and the investments made are, that's the kind of a ratio that's maintained.
So feels like a lot of heavy lifting which is going on there. So how does a typical day look like for you?
So a typical day, right? I really don't know when I walk into that door. I really don't know what am I going to do today, because there's so much variety that we look at in a day, right? We are a sector agnostic fund, so a lot of startups that come, probably some coming from the D2C space, some coming from B2B SaaS, some coming which is a marketplace somewhere. So it's very interesting to look at pitch decks daily. We generally look at around 20 to 30 pitch decks daily. Speak with probably 5-6 founders in a week. Understanding their businesses, network with a lot of people online and offline. I have to attend a lot of networking sessions where we meet a lot of people, a lot of founders, understand more about the ecosystem. This job also entails a lot of travel. So recently, it's just been 6 months that I've joined Equanimity, and I've traveled probably to 4 cities till now, and couple of them being tier 2 cities. So it's very interesting to know the kind of things that are happening in those tier 2 cities and the metros as well. So that's how it is, and I'm also involved in the fundraising process for the fund. So I love to attend the potential LP meetings that I have to go for. That's about it. And obviously, now that I bring a lot of legal expertise on the table, I also get a lot of legal work on my tables. That's much about my day, but I'd love to know more about your day as well.
So I do everything but the legal work over here. Since I come from a finance background, and so help give the team a financial perspective to all the investments that we come across, and also help them build financial models, managing the treasury over here, liaising with the existing LPs, and liaising with the different kind of regulatory bodies that are out there. Then along with that, I help the team strategize their exit so that we can multiply or evaluate our IRRs, and what does the future look like for our fund personally. So that's basically what I do over here.
Got it. Interesting. So we have a couple of more questions. So now that we have spoken more about how do our days look like, let's delve deep into how our work hours are and what are the challenges that you have, and especially your like and dislike on this job.
So our work hours, it's definitely not a typical 9 to 5 job. We work upwards of 60 plus hours over here, and weekends are working. And obviously, it's a bit less hectic than compared to an investment banking or a private equity job, but very demanding. So that I feel that itself becomes a huge challenge in itself. And secondly, we get a plethora of deals, like you mentioned, 20, 30 a day, which translates into 25, 3,000 plus deals over a year.
Correct.
And making the right investment choice is a challenge, right?
It's an art.
You need to understand the businesses so well. You need to be constantly updated. You need to be aware of your surroundings and what does the future hold. And you need to have an unbiased opinion, right?
Yeah.
So that is a challenge. Then, since the ecosystem is relatively young right now, it's growing. There are a lot of regulatory compliances which come
Correct.
along the way as well, right? We see daily SEBI circulars, RBI circulars coming across.
Yes.
So understanding them, navigating our way through them is probably one of the biggest challenges here as well.
Correct.
Now answering the last part of your question, which is likes and dislikes. Likes is obviously there's everything to like in this industry. You get to meet new founders, get into the pick the brains of these founders and what what are they basically thinking. You get to attend events, you get to understand different business models that are out there. And obviously, you get to do podcasts like these and present and help other folks which are out there.
Correct. Correct.
And talking about dislikes, since I'm relatively new to the industry, I don't have any dislikes as of now, but the answer might change in the coming year.
Yeah, that's a nice answer.
So you mentioned about traveling to 4 odd cities, right?
Yeah.
All of them being different to each other. So in what sense were they different? Would love to know more about that and your experience over there.
So generally, if you talk about Mumbai, Bangalore, and Delhi, right, they are the meccas for VCs. So I would not want to delve deep into one of these, but I'd like to talk about the tier 2 cities that I've recently visited. I recently visited Bhubaneswar in Orissa. Happened to have a couple of events there and a couple of companies that I had to meet. Was really blown away by seeing the kind of people, the kind of founders, the kind of organizations, the incubators and accelerators.
Right.
I know I almost met around 6 founders and saw 4 of them literally left their day jobs.
Yeah.
They don't have much money on them. That's what they told us. And now they're raising funds just for the startup. So I mean, it's amazing to see India grow in such a manner, in such a fashion. And I think the next 10 years for India is going to be completely golden. So that's more about tier 2s. Now we're talking about metros, right? I'd love to draw a parallel. Got a call from one of my friends in Bangalore, and he said that tonight we are chilling at Kormangla with my VC friends. I'm like, how do you do that? We don't have anything as such. So, I mean, the point is that it's the kind of ecosystem, the tight knitness that comes in, and it grows organically. So that's something that happens in the VC ecosystem. It's completely people driven. It's really tight knit. And one has to know each other probably 1 year down the line or 2 years down the line in the industry. So that's more about how I feel about the ecosystem currently. So let's just kind of conclude this conversation and have more time for folks to ask questions on the forum. What are your key takeaways for people listening to us?
So I feel. To start with, although the number of hours that we work are only 60 odd hours, but a lot of effort goes in beyond those 60 hours, right? You need to constantly be reading stuff, consuming a lot of content. So one should be ready to consume that much knowledge and contribute that much to the fund. Secondly, would be you always need to stay curious, right? You always need to know what's coming next, and you always need to keep on learning and unlearning at the same time. Right? And one needs to love to network because that's one of the biggest assets one can have in this ecosystem. Then you need to stay updated about what's going on and everything there is to know. You should be very eager and keen to learn what's going on around you.
So curiosity is something.
Curiosity. And self-motivation would be another. And you should have a good knack of understanding business models. Because that's like the underlying principle for any investments that you make, not just on a VC, but at a private equity or any personal investments that you make as well, right? So
makes sense.
To conclude, I would like to say that one needs to have with all these qualities, one needs to have an unbiased opinion on whatever opportunity is there on the table, right? Whatever investment deal they've been thrown to, or to evaluate any founder as well. So that's how I would like to conclude. Manan, would love to know how would you like to conclude this and then move to the Q.
So a couple of quick points, right? As you rightly spoke about networking, that's really important to have. One generally does not have a personality of talking to people, trying to be in their comfort zone. But this place, this complete ecosystem brings you out of that, and you have to come out of that, speak with more people, network, because that's a huge asset to you. The other thing that I'd like to, and speak with relevant people. So that's also very important in the ecosystem. The other thing that I'd like to mention is you should always read about the macros. So we are a sector agnostic fund, hence we keep getting deals from different industries. It's very important for us to keep reading reports, keep looking at the podcast that you just mentioned. Not just during the work hours, but off work hours as well. So it's very important for us to be updated and read about the macros always, day in, day out, just read about the macros. That's very important. And the last thing that I'd like to conclude the conversation with is personal branding. That is supremely important today because everyone is learning the same thing. Probably another CA, just like you would just learn the same thing, but it's very important to create a personal brand because that probably differentiates you from the other. So I would know something that you would not know. You would know something that I wouldn't know. It's very important to put out what I know and which I'm really motivated towards. So that's something that I'd like to end the conversation with. And a couple of Q&As that we can take from the forum.
Yeah, Man, before that, would love to know how does one really get a job at a VC? Like, what does he or she need to do? Whom does he or she need to reach out to?
So actually getting a job at a VC is it does not have a playbook. It's very organic in a manner. There are a lot of angel networks and VC firms who run these internship programs, generally half a year programs or quarterly programs. The internship programs, fellowship programs, management training programs. So you should just have these guys on the radar. Reach out to these guys through LinkedIn, Instagram, however you want to. There are a lot of networking sessions which happen, which are open for all, not just for the ecosystem partners. So you should start attending those. Again, as I said, it's a tight-knit community. Relationships are really important. They are ranked top one. So that's very important.
So what we can do now is move on to the Q&A.
Sure. Let's do that.
So, Jeel over here asks, what is the culture like within the VC firms?
Culture. Oh my God. Would you want to take that up?
So the culture is, I feel, very different from what it is at an MNC and other banks. Over here, there's any deal which comes across our head, we discuss it internally and keep on discussing about it, talk about our views on those industries and the subsectors and what kind of market size does that have, right? So these are the discussions which happen day in, day out. It's relatively chiller as well, although it's all the time serious, but it's in a very chill way. And would you like to add something to it?
So, moreover, what happens is people generally listen to people. Even if I have someone who's really senior to me, would want to listen to me because I bring a different perspective. I come from a different generation. I have lived in a different decade than what he has done or she has done. So it's very important to listen to different perspectives of people. So that is something that happens at a VC kind of a setting. And also, as you said, it's kind of chill. But it is really hectic on the brain because you have to keep learning, keep updating yourself. So that's something which happens on a personal level. But otherwise, it's nice. People who really like talking to people and doing 10 different things at a time and not just sticking to one thing, then this is the place for you.
Yusuf is asking about suppose he needs to start up a VC, a job at a VC like a VC analyst. So he asks, in our opinion, what kind of responsibilities a person entering the VC landscape should expect to juggle on a daily basis, especially when starting out?
Especially when starting
out,
So when you start out, right, Yusuf, I don't think so you'll get a lot of things on your plate. It's something which builds slowly.
It's more like an on the job.
On the job kind of learning. That is very important. It happens slowly. So the first thing that you will probably get to do is understand the VC structure, understand the fund structure from the terms of the legals, from the terms of SEBI, from the terms of the structuring completely. That is very important. There are a couple of documents which are to be read. before you probably enter that door of VCs, right?
Yeah.
Which is very important for you to understand.
Yeah.
So those things are the first things that will come to you. Then slowly they'll open you to the deals, start listening to you, what you think about those deals. So yeah, that's how it slowly
Yeah.
grows, and then you look at deals, you give
Right.
in your
Yeah.
binds, and yeah, that's how it
Take it
happens.
from
Very
there.
organic.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very organic.
Yeah. So, Alicia wants to know few of our experiences over the last 6 months.
Experience in what terms?
About working in this industry.
Yeah, I think you should take it.
Yeah, it will be better if you take that up, considering that you have traveled so much, met a lot of folks.
So experiences as in there have been a lot of fun experiences as well. There have been a lot of experiences which are a little daunting. But all in all, if I say it's really good to be in this ecosystem, you get to talk to a lot of founders, get a different perspective about things. If I tell you of how I have changed in terms of experiences, whenever I travel, right, I always have my phone notepad on. I just keep looking at things around, probably a lot of different brands that I
Yeah.
see on the airport. I just keep noting them down.
Yeah.
Come back home, read more about it. So that's something that really changes me.
Yeah.
And in terms of experiences, I think we've met a lot of founders who are not up to the mark, and we've met a lot of founders who are
Extraordinary.
amazing, but not creating the right thing probably. So yeah, it's a mixed bag of experiences that one
Yeah.
has gone through. Anything that you would like to state?
No, yeah, agree with you over here. Like over here, personally, what I have learned is having an opinion of your own.
Correct.
And won't matter how silly it is, because here everybody is ready to accept whatever thoughts you have there and with what background are you thinking. So that would be one of the one of the most important things which I have learned over here working in this industry.
Yeah, correct. As you said, right? Even if we are looking at a startup, right, we are thinking 5 years out,
Yeah.
probably 7 years out from where we
Yeah.
are currently. So it's very important for us to have an holistic approach
Yeah.
and a very optimistic approach
Yeah.
of what
Yeah.
today's tech looks like and what will happen 5 years
Yeah.
down. So that's kind of important.
Right.
Yeah.
So, Siddhi wants to know some tips or advice for crafting a standout resume for a venture capital job application.
Crafting. Okay, there's no crafting happening, but what will probably keep differentiate you is, as I said, pretty much in the end of the conversation, personal branding, guys. You need to really build on personal branding, because that is something which will 100% differentiate you. It doesn't matter if you talk about something very silly on that. It's completely okay, but you need to talk about what you know properly and correctly more than the others, and which others would love to hear. So that is something which would really differentiate you, and that would automatically craft the right kind of a resume that you would want to present.
And I feel a lot of these internships, like you mentioned, would really help their resume,
Correct.
right? You need not start directly at an analyst level, but doing these various internships for 1.5 years would really help enhance your CV and make a strong case for yourself.
Correct.
So yeah, that
Yeah, I
would
mean,
be
even I worked at probably 3 or 4 startups before I started working at IPV and then the law firm. So yeah, that's very important. Very important to intern. Yeah.
How important is a prior experience in the startup or finance industry when applying for a job with a venture capital firm? So I'll take this
Yeah,
up.
you can take it up.
So I come from both a finance background as well as a startup background. To answer that, not a strong understanding of financial modeling or deep financial acumen, like you need not know the DCF valuation, comparable company valuation, and all that kind of valuation is not that necessary over here. Obviously, you need to have a certain sense of finance acumen and a certain sense of understanding on how to look financials, but not that important as they would be in an IB or a PE, right? So that would be one. Secondly, startup background obviously helps, because although you're on the other side of the industry, or other side of the table, but you understand what works, what doesn't work, you know how the ecosystem works, right? So that helps you give the edge, that helps you more capable to understand businesses, right? And that's what is most important to a VC. So obviously both of these things helps, but not a major standout or not like a prerequisite to enter into a VC.
Correct,
Yeah.
correct. I think understanding and having a very good understanding and knack of understanding business
Yeah,
models,
that's
because day in day out, business models
Yeah.
are changing.
right.
So just to draw a parallel, right? Today, I mean, in 2015-ish, Amazon came in.
Yeah.
It was a marketplace. You get anything and everything
Yeah.
possible there. Now we have, vertical marketplaces.
Yeah.
If I want new D2C brands, I have to go to this one marketplace called Miola.
Yeah.
I go there, I get only new D2C brands of India. So, it's evolving.
Yeah,
So
we
very
have a
important.
marketplace for everything.
Yeah, that's vertical marketplaces.
yeah.
So that's kind of which
Yeah,
sums it up.
right.
Yeah.
So, so Anand over here asks, what are the some common mistakes that people make when trying to land a job in the VC firm, at a VC firm?
Common mistakes. Do you want to take that up?
So one of the common mistakes is like you need to reach out to a lot of people, you need to network a lot, right? So what people tend to do is they stop after reaching out to probably 10 odd people. You need to reach out to 100 odd people,
Yeah.
probably two of those would connect, and that's how it happens. So I feel